Well, once again, a late review of this can't be helped as usual. You know, commitment and all. But hi for those who are watching. It's Ducktales. Woohoo! Episode 8, The Living Mummies of Toth-Ra. Apparently, well, not the last episode, but what I saw last time, what I saw from the Wikipedia, it seems this is gonna be the last episode for a while, unless of course they already have shown when it's going to happen. An adventure an episode that has no Donald and Beakley in it, but has plenty of Scrooge adventure and mostly an episode that goes around Webby Gale and Louis. In this episode itself, the gang apparently looking for the tomb of Toth-Ra, an ancient pharaoh that ruled Egypt as they are in they are in Egypt for this one. The episode begins pretty funny where they all rise up from the sand, almost similar to how zombies or mummies used to do in movies. And even funnier how Webby yes tells to Louis as he coughs up, and that's why you don't scream while in quicksand. Understandably, he grabs her by her shirt and says, "Please don't tell me how to die." As they go into the pyramid, Launchpad, still a man-child, well, duh, that's his character, has apparently a gag today of having burritos as he keep on eating that as soon as Scrooge begins to say that and that. It's even funnier when Scrooge says Launchpad, and Launchpad just says, "Do you want a bite?" This is this is the last of the lost pyramids. Show some respect. But as soon as he turns around, Launchpad just takes out another. Indeed. Of course, the kids are having different feelings about all this. Webby really want to see a mummy, which Hugh and Dewey also looks out for want to see a mummy, mostly because it's dangerous. While Huey, being the smart one, obviously says that from how a mummy was created and all that should be impossible. And Louis, well, Louis is basically just the Scrooge's side of the things. He is he didn't he do not want to have any danger. He just want the money. Money. That was a bad pun. Unfortunately says mummy, but I was actually aiming to say money. So well, either way, the gang gets to a place where they fall down a hatch. Webby and Louis one goes down another hole while the rest goes another hole. It's there they meet the fancy, well, mummy dressed people who turns out to actually not be mummies but servants of descendant and servants of Toth-Ra. And that scene is also pretty funny, especially since that scene just cuts off as soon as, well, the theme song. It's even funnier the fact that who voices Amunet, the leader of these descendants. It's Cree Summer, and her well sassy black girl voice really hits a fan here and funny. When Scrooge just says, "Shh, they could be dangerous. Speak up, you ancient miscreants!" And she steps out of the shadow, revealing that she's a young, alive woman, and she just says, "Hey, what's up?" Showing that they are pretty well modern. Well, they all seem to live pretty poorly, though, as they say, our civilization has fried, and of course, Huey, or was it Dewey, has a lot of sarcasm in this episode. Says, "Yeah, I can see that," as they are drying up, and each and every day they offer some sacrifices to Toth-Ra, who appears and will bless them with the light of hope, who turns out to be the sun as they open up. And that's the only way for their plants, who's drying up, to get up, but it's not enough. Webby and Louis, on the other hand, have some moments where Louis greedily and have happened to take on the treasure chamber, and Webby tries to take this seriously. Yeah, Webby is taking this seriously. Well, then again, she takes everything seriously. It's just that the way she does take everything seriously, that works so comedic. So in this one, it's, well, it's pretty funny in that way how Louis is so irresponsible in this episode. Well, he was always irresponsible, even though he did learn from Scrooge in that episode. Then again, given how the episodes were out of order, we do not know exactly what it is. It's also funny how Amunet and Huey has some kind of disagreement banter. When Amunet says, "Oh, you're not the sharpest sickle in the shed, are you, kid?" And he has said, "I got a junior woodchuck badge in sickle sharpening, and that says otherwise." Yes, the junior woodchuck book has a sickle sharpening. Either way, Scrooge and the other gangs tries to make the followers rise up against Toth-Ra, especially when they hear that Webby and Louie may be in Toth-Ra's palace, which is full of treasure. So Scrooge pulls, in inspiring speech, which they, of course, do not listen to. So in the end, it's Launchpad that gets them on the side by offering them a burrito and then holding burrito tastes like the tastes out there are amazing or stuff like that. Eventually, it gets so so intense about that Scrooge just has to say, "This is the dumbest rebellion I ever been part of." Which is probably another noodle incident joke where we actually had to ask ourselves, okay, then which was the first one? If you think about it, Scrooge must have been part of some rebellions in his career. So, well, Webby and Louis also meets Toth-Ra, who turns out to actually be his corpse. Turns out to be actually be controlled by a servant who is also a descendant. Apparently, have served Toth-Ra since the beginning of time, and they were all waiting until Toth-Ra was going to rise up again. So, when the villagers finally storm, everything seems to be solved. Unfortunately, because of Louis, recklessness, he managed to make Toth-Ra's corpse cross a circle pad, which in the entire episode, Webby have tried shown that she can translate Egyptian, you know, hieroglyphy, and she cannot translate one last part. So Scrooge does it for her, and it says, "Beware who anyone who crosses Toth-Ra from this line." And as soon as the corpse of Toth-Ra crosses that line, he resurrects, revealing that this episode is a parody and a deconstruction of the Scooby-Doo hoax. It seemed to be a Scooby-Doo hoax with everything else here. But no, the resurrection of Toth-Ra is actually true. He just needed to cross that path if he wanted to resurrect. And of course, Webby gets excited by that. But then, when she realizes just how powerful Toth-Ra is, well, then it's not so funny. It's even funnier with the fact that uh, Amunet says that Toth-Ra has scared spies and can shoot lasers from his eyes, which he does in that when he is resurrected. Told ya, it's just a coincidence. That Beetle could have said anything. So yeah, well, even though Toth-Ra is not a single bit comedic, and he chases Louis for touching his treasure, and even as Louis says, "I offer you my sword of my life," he just says, "Die." He eventually gets defeated by weakening by light, revealing that was his weakness, whereas get wrapped up in a big tortilla and placed back on the throne, and his corpse goes back to being dead. After that, the followers, finally liberated from Toth-Ra's palace, go outside in the sun, which Amunet thinks is pretty, well, bright. Of course, Scrooge just gives her sunglasses. After that, Launchpad orders 100 quesadillas, 50 tortillas, and 200 burrito espallas for them all to eat. But of course, he doesn't have any money. So once again, Scrooge shows a little bit of his deconstruction character by offering to pay. Of course, once he hears that it costs $9,000, he is actually do not want to pay, but unfortunately has to. Even and then we also get some new gag of some sort. I'm not really sure what we are calling it. The Louis banter or something. The Louis incidents. Well, Well, they get a Louis word for always getting into trouble. The episode ends with the Launchpad offering Scrooge a burrito, where she slowly takes a bite of, similar to tasting wine, and admits, hmm, it's not so bad. All in all, it wasn't such a bad, funny episode. Did I enjoy it more than last week's? You know what? Yeah, yeah, I think I did. Still have plenty of funny moments here. Although that burrito incident could wasn't exactly to my 100% liking, it was still an enjoyable episode nonetheless. And this focused back on Webby and Louis. Although Scrooge was also here, and although he didn't play an extremely big role, here he showed a little bit of his more heartwarming side, wanting to defend his family from Toth-Ra. And as I said again, the introduced character Aminet with Chris Summers' voice, that just worked for some reason. It just so worked. So yeah, I guess Launchpad is also a pretty important character here, still being as limited as ever, but he can really affect people when things get strange. Oh yeah, I cannot forget this. I cannot forget this. Another very funny moment in this episode was the fact that Chewie taught the followers of Toth-Ra how to fight back by doing a thriller like dance. Because he said the only way to beat a mummy is to have a mummy dance or something like that. I think he's saying that I think what it means to say is if you get the zombie dance on, then you can, well, charm them. Of course, that does not work. All in all, yes, I still enjoyed this episode. Some very big laughs. What do you think about this one? Give me a thoughts if you have any.